Welcome to Codex, History of Video Games. My name's Tyler Osby.
And I'm Mike Coletta.
And this week, we're going to talk about something near and dear to both of our hearts. That's Legos, or Lego, I guess, is the proper plural.
Yeah, you don't want to pluralize it. That's how everyone thinks you're a noob. Don't do that, Tyler.
I feel like that's a uniquely American thing, is to pluralize Legos, because I don't think they do that other places.
No, everyone else just calls it Lego. It's just us.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about Lego games, starting with one of the ones for the Sega Pico.
The Sega Pico. This is so I always thought the first Lego game was Lego Island, which we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about that today.
The first and most important Lego game.
It's the one that was worldwide first. So the first game that ever came out for Lego that was actually like a licensed Lego game was called Lego Fun to Build. And this was in 1995. And it was on the Sega Pico. And we've kind of briefly talked about the Sega Pico before. That's the educational console that came out it was like an edutainment device, right? Here's the crazy thing about the Pico. I thought it was like a short-lived little thing, right? It turns out the Sega Pico in Japan was actually like I don't know the term. I guess the term would be like active from 1993 to 2005. It was supported that long, over a decade.
Like new games coming out for it?
Yeah, like new games coming out, active user base. People were using their Pico theoretically for over a decade.
Wow.
In Japan. It was much shorter in the US. So that's kind of why we think about it. But this was a Japan-only game.
Gotcha. That's like a console for kids, right? And so
yeah, it has
probably
like 5 buttons.
Yeah,
and it was really, really basic. I don't know if you can probably get one on eBay. I thought about it and I was like, this could be one of those things that's way more expensive than what it's worth. You know, if it was like $20, I might go try to get a Pico. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But for the sake of this, also, I should mention up front, I tried to play this game, but it's for the Sega Pico, and we're going to talk about it. It's the long play of this game is 18 minutes long. It is a short game. I went with just watching the YouTube video. I hope everyone's okay with that for now. We're going to do grime facts on the game, though. So it was developed by the Lego Group. It came out in December 1995, only in Japan. That's important to note.
It's interesting. That's because that's where the Pico really.
That's where the Pico really had an audience, right?
I'm sure it came out in the US. Never.
Yeah, very short-lived in the US. I should have gotten the stats. Actually, I have it right here. Hold on. So in North America, November 1994 to February 1998, 4 years in North America. So very short time, right? But the came out on Sega Pico, and that's probably the best way to play it. I didn't even try to find a PC emulator for it. I'm sure there is one, I didn't even try. It's one of those games where we're really trying to show this off here because it's the first game, and that's why it's important for Lego. But also, we're all just here for Lego Island, right? Like, if you're listening to this, you're probably here for Lego Island. So we're just gonna get to that, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna try to hold off. I'm not gonna tease you, okay? There is no copies sold data for this. We don't really know. There actually is for Lego Island for a very interesting reason. But the genre or gameplay style, I'm going to call these both activity centers. I think that's a good way to put it because it is a activity center as in there's an open menu and then there's puzzles and mini games. And for the sake of the fun to build, the mini game menu, the menu is just a menu, right? For Lego Island, the menu is a quote unquote open world. Is what we're going to get to.
Maybe the first open world ever.
Maybe the first. Maybe. We don't know. We're not sure. We'll get to that. So this also might be the first entry we've ever done that does not have a how long to beat. The Sega Pico game.
Apparently it's 18 minutes.
Lego Fun to Build. Yeah, we're going to say 20 to 30 minutes just based on the long play. Also, there's no Metacritic score for this as well.
Depends on how young you are when you play this, probably.
Yeah, because
I assume a small child has a little bit more trouble, maybe takes a few hours.
Yeah, for sure.
And they probably play it a bunch of times because that's what kids do. They just do the same thing over and over.
I mean, we're going to get to it, but we're kind of jumping ahead. But that's why Lego Island, I think, is such a good memory for all of us, is because we all remember this being like this huge open world. Game is so small compared to what I remember it being, but we'll talk about that too. So This game was developed for the Sega Pico, and since you remember that it was an edutainment device, this is less a game and more of like an activity center, like I mentioned. I'm not sure if we've really touched on that topic too much, but just to reiterate, as I said before, an activity center is like a main menu that you navigate to go to a bunch of puzzles and mini games. And the Lego Fun to Build consists of 4 levels, and each level has 6 building puzzles, and those puzzles are really just memory games. So you'll see a model, a Lego model. It'll take bricks off of it, and then you have to put those bricks back on in the order that it was, reverse order, right? That's the game. Sometimes you finish those, and then it goes into a mini game. And the mini games are based on the worlds that they're in. So there's the 4 levels in Lego Fun to Build are Town, so Lego City, Aqua Zone, Castle, and Space. There is a 5th level that is just like a free build mode that you unlock when you're done, which is cool because as a kid you get a free build mode. You can build whatever you want on your device. That's kind of neat.
That's what I always wanted in a Lego game as a kid.
I mean, that's why Lego Fortnite hit so hard with us, I think. Well, me anyway. I kind of stopped playing. I'm waiting to go back into it, and then we'll see what they do.
They just put a bunch of Star Wars stuff out yesterday in Lego Fortnite.
They also put a bunch of vehicles in. I know that. Like, vehicles are kind of fixed now, which is kind of cool. So I'm actually going to say this. I don't know if they're fixed. I don't want to say that because based on what they were like when we were playing it, with the jank we were using when we were trying to like fire the engines with the balloon to get it to go and the game would crash. I don't know where it's at. Don't quote me on that. So the town mini games, there's a boat, buggy, helicopter, and race car race where it's like a top-down race where you move side to side to avoid obstacles. Very basic, like an old school like racing game, you know. And when you cross the finish line, if you're in the top 2, you move on to a finals race where you go head to head with one of the other vehicles, and you can pick whatever vehicle you want. Then the other puzzle is a pizza delivery game where you just the house is highlighted, you drive to it, you throw a pizza, and that's it. That's the whole thing.
Sweet.
Very quick. The Aqua Zone has a side-scrolling mini sub game where you collect crystals and you dodge sharks. And then the second game is like a claw machine with the same nature, but one shark, and you're like the claws on a submarine and you're grabbing the crystals. So
I feel like that was an actual Lego set. The Aqua Zone.
Oh, they are.
Submarine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because I think I had the submarine with the claw.
There's
or maybe
Aqua
I'm making that
Zone.
up.
Yeah, Aqua Zone had like the sharks were like the bad organization, but they were the cool ones because they were like all black submarines and they had like shark faces on the sides of the glass things. I have a couple sets like that here. I'll, maybe one day I'll pull out my Lego set and this will just become Mike shows everyone his Lego collection because we have videos now and that's what's important.
Yeah,
that's all I care about. Okay, so the castle one is where it gets interesting to me because there's one longer mini game. And keep in mind, all these worlds have building puzzles. I'm just skipping those because it's just a memory game. Okay, so they all have building puzzles. The castle one, you play the king of either the Lion Knights or the Dragon Knights. So you have to pick a faction.
Wow, inspired Game of Thrones here? This game came out before Song of Ice and Fire?
This game might have inspired Game of Thrones. It's pre
Dragon Knights versus Lion Knights. That's
really
all Game of Thrones is.
Stole from Lego Fun to Build. You heard it here first in this podcast. Yeah, that's right. Accusations are flying. Hey, you know what? But they actually finished Lego Fun to Build. Boom roasted.
Oh, okay. Got him.
Just kidding. I think he's got a lot going on. I immediately back down. So
I don't. Finish the book.
Yeah. The Lion Knight Castle game is you go into a wizard. There's a story. You go into a wizard's tower, okay, as one of those 2 factions. You're the king of the faction, okay? You got to rescue your other knights from the wizard. He's entranced them. Okay, Tyler. And the way you do that is by going through the tower, taking left or right branching paths. And it's just trial and error. You go right. Oh no, there's a ghost. You got to go back to the one and go the other way. And you do that like multiple times until you get to the actual game part of it, where you're the knight. And then the wizard, who again is named Magisto. That's the wizard's name, is on a dragon going up and down, and you have to fire your helmet at your own knights to bring them back to that, because they all have wizard's hat on because they're like entranced, and you got to bring them back to your side. And you can't lose the game if you miss a shot, or if the helmet hits Magisto, it just bounces away. You can't lose. There's no way to lose this game. It's just time, right?
It's like the opposite of Tetris. You will win eventually.
You will win eventually. Exactly. It's like one of those claw machines where it says you play until you win for candy. It's
Yep.
like that. That's what this game is like. So that's how you do that. You go through, you can't lose. That's the castle world. Space world has multiple mini games after you build like 2 different items with the memory game. So after you build the sled, you play this ice hockey game, but it's really just like air hockey top down. And you play as a sled, and that like builds a part of the robot. The first to win 4 like goals wins, I believe, on that one. The second one is like a saucer puzzle where you're like first person in a ship and you're like grabbing asteroids and dodging stuff there. It's again, this game is super basic. It's a kid's game. It was for an edutainment device. It's technically the first Lego game, but that's kind of it. And I know why we're all here. So we're just going to get to it, right, Tyler?
Yeah,
Are you
yeah.
ready?
Mm-hmm.
It's Lego Island time. It's Lego Island time.
Yes.
This is the game that I think caused everyone to have like that nostalgia for old PC games that were like educational but like surprising. I would say this and Oregon Trail are the 2 big ones. So let's do the grind facts for Lego Island. It was developed by Mindscape. It was released worldwide on September 26th, 1997.
Wow.
So we have
Simultaneous worldwide release.
worldwide release right there. So systems are only on Windows PC. This game came out on Windows. That's where it originated, and that's where it was. I'm gonna say this right now for best way to play. I tried to play Lego Island. This is my big like upsetting thing for this episode. I tried to play it. I tried to figure it out. Spent a couple hours trying to get the game running. I couldn't get it to run. I was trying to mount it from archive. I got the ISO from archive.org because we're not going to talk about the like you own the game thing. This game came out in 1997. There's no real way to play it. No one's getting money for it anymore. No one cares if you get the ISO on archive.org. Like no one cares. So I got that. I got the hot fix. I tried to mount the ISO and installed the hot fix patch for it. And I got the game to open, install. I got it to boot up. I saw Infomaniac. He started saying like bienvenue and welcome to me. And then the screen went blue. And if I hit the escape key, the game crashed. And that's as far as I got. And couldn't get it to run. So I would say the best way to play this, and Tyler, you brought this up as something I could have done that I didn't know, is there is a way to emulate Windows 98.
Yeah, there are old PC emulators. You could do VirtualBox, which is like it's not virtualizing is not emulation, but it's kind of the same thing. Or you can use PC emulator, which is more traditional emulation.
Yeah,
might be a little more compatible, might not be. I don't know, but would have been worth a try.
Yeah, and I think that's something I should have tried if I went back and did to do it. But yeah, so the upsetting part about this is I couldn't get the game running, and I had to watch like a long play of it to kind of really get the feel of it, which is a bummer because I wanted to go in. I was like really excited this episode to like play this game that I actually owned as a kid and like would play with friends. We'd all like take turns at a computer, and like play this game, and it just didn't work. A fun fact though, if you're trying to play this game, because I watched a lot of videos on YouTube of people like setting this up and installing it, and I think it was LGR, the YouTube channel LGR.
Mm-hmm.
He mentioned that your frame rate is tied to your processing speed. So a typical problem you get with this game is if you're playing it on modern hardware, you are moving so fast that you cannot control. Like when you turn and push the button like left or right, you'll turn like a full quarter turn or more because you're going off of frame rate and not like the
Not
actual
time. It's
yeah,
just
it's not time. It's not slowed down properly. So keep that in mind if you do get this game running, that you might want to try it on like you mentioned, like a virtual machine or a PC emulator or something, so you can maybe throttle that a bit so it's more the input's more correct than what it would be.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that you can get it running. I just had really bad luck and I couldn't get it going before we recorded. I am going to still try because I want to see if I can get it going, especially if we play like what the plan is to do the other 2 Lego Island games after this. So I would like to play all 3 and experience all 3. So that's my hope anyway. The number of copies sold, we do know this because it said over 1 million sold on the box. So we know
on the box
of the re-released version of it, because they had like 2 runs of it. So
gotcha.
The first run sold over 1 million copies, and then when they released the newer version of it, the box, like maybe like a year later, it said over 1 million sold on the box. So we know it sold over 1 million copies. That's kind of where we're at. There was some info on, because I found a PDF from a Lego podcast called Bits and Bricks, and they actually put their whole transcript up online. So you could actually just, that's actually the best source I had and what I used for this entire thing, especially for the development part of it. It's very much like written by the Lego company, you know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
it's not exactly bias free, but they did mention that they sold, um, I believe it was 325,000 copies in the first year, and then the following year they sold over 400,000. So
So
that
they didn't sell over 1 million.
well, though that re-release probably came like 2 or 3 years after that,
Oh, okay.
where they had the box that said over 1 million. So, because I think they kept making it like into the year 2000,
I think
like
it's
like
fairly
boxes.
popular.
Yeah, so it was pretty popular. So we do know it broke 1 million in sales, but that was in 1997 and 98 that it hit like 725,000. So probably at the end of 99 is when it hit 1 million, if we're just going off of the numbers here. But yeah, that Bits and Bricks was really, really good source for this whole thing, and I was stoked they had that. I haven't actually listened to the podcast though. I'd have to go through and go back and listen to that. The genre or gameplay style, it's an activity center like before, but there's a little twist to that. We'll get to that in a bit. The average time to complete, according to howlongtobeat.com, that's right, all 3 Lego Island games are on howlongtobeat.com, is 2 hours for Lego Island, the original. If you want to get completionist with it, 2.5 hours. Are you
You
going
want
to
to make
put that
sure you play
extra?
all the video game or all the
Are
mini
you,
games.
you can put that 30 minutes in, Tyler? You going to put that extra 30 minutes in, you
Oh,
think?
I put the extra 30 minutes in back in the day for
Yeah.
sure.
I put hours into this game as a
Mm-hmm.
kid, so it was important to me. The Metacritic score is user score because obviously they don't have any reviews from back then, but the user score of this game is an 82 out of 100, which is good. It's a good game. It's known. Now, is a lot of that nostalgia? Probably. But
Well, nobody's going back nowadays to write a bad review of Lego Island.
yeah,
They're like
I am actually.
they forgot about it.
I'm the one person that's doing that. This is actually I put it up like where I love this game, and then I just start destroying it like halfway through
You couldn't
this.
get it to work on modern systems, so you review bombed it yourself.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I did. Yeah, I
You're like,
review
how
bombed
dare
it.
they not think 30 years into the future?
I'm like, well, this reminds me because this came from that time when there was no like standardized graphics card
Mm-hmm.
era. So this is like the era of like competing graphics card companies. So which one is going to be the one that's actually like compatible with this the best?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that's pretty interesting. All right, so Lego Island is, they took the idea of Lego Fun to Build and ramped it up by making the menu, the menu of the activity center, a proto open world is what I'm calling it, because the way it worked is you would select your character, you'd get out into the world, and then you would see a bicycle. Click on that bicycle. Now you can ride that bike all over Lego Island. Lego Island, it's a very simple, like rectangle shaped island, but there's a bunch of activities you can do. It's kind of like the Wii Sports Resort in a way, except
Oh
you
yeah,
could
where you
like
can like run
travel
around.
around the island. I don't, in Wii Sports Resort, could you like open world walk around the island?
I'm not sure. I didn't really play Wii Sports Resort at all.
Yeah, I didn't either. So I'm wondering if you know, email us,
But yeah,
codexhistorypodcast.
so the menu is
Yeah.
like walking around the island, which is cool because just walking around the island is also fun when you're 7 years old.
Yeah, and the crazy part about this is there's so much, and I'm just skipping all over the place in my notes, but it's fine. We're just talking now, Tyler. The important thing about it and the fun thing about it is every character is like zany and has like a funny attitude to them. Like the policeman, you pull up to the police station probably first because it's at the bottom of the hill, and he just starts making a bunch of weird jokes about how he's like, "You're under arrest. You're not under arrest." He just goes like wild on it, and he's
Everybody's
like, it's
unhinged on Lego Island.
so unhinged. It's like every single person can't hold a thought in their brain for more than like a second, and they just jump around. And it's like that non sequitur style of humor that little kids love, like
Mm-hmm.
hyperactive, like Saturday morning cartoon kind of thing. So
Yeah,
that's
OMG, so random.
exactly that's what then that's what every character is on Lego Island. Not to mention the fact that just playing the game, like clicking on random things, usually causes something to happen. Like if you click on a tree, something's going to happen. So it's like everything's clickable, everything's like you can interact with it. It felt as a child like this is a very real game. I was 9 when it came out, and it felt like this is an open world, like amazing technology thing, that we all experienced.
Yeah, and you got the Infomaniac at the top of the hill.
Yeah, and he's telling you all the stuff, and he's crazy too. He just goes off on like he says like welcome in like 7 different languages to start the game.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so fun. They made a Lego Island set. They made an Infomaniac set, like that building at the top of the thing. I had an Infomaniac minifigure. I'm not sure if I just got that separately for some reason or if I had the bigger set. I think I maybe just had the minifigure that I ordered from a Lego catalog or something.
Well,
Which that's a whole nother thing. Every time the Lego catalog showed up at our house,
oh man,
man, that
the
was an all day event.
catalog, the Lego catalog. I forgot about the catalog. That was a big part of me. So I didn't realize it. We're gonna go on. Hit the button. Do you have the tangent button ready? Very good. Okay. I didn't realize, like when I was a kid, I would get like a Lego set for Christmas. How much those were? They were expensive.
Yeah.
And like as an adult buying my own Lego stuff, and I'm paying like lots of money. Like I bought the D&D set. It was like $380 or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's
so
it's
many
pricey.
bucks.
It's so many bucks. But yeah, it's just it's really miraculous. I didn't know they had a Lego Infomaniac set. And now I'm curious after this is over, like how much that's going for. Because I have some pretty big nostalgia for the original Lego IPs, like this Aqua Zone we talked about. I'm a huge fan of Johnny Thunder, which was their like Indiana Jones knockoff. And so I have a Johnny Thunder set here, actually. Like I rebuilt it as a kid because I just love it's so ridiculous. But and they have PDF instructions for all these sets, so you can go ahead and rebuild them again. But yeah, I heard because I watched a video recently on YouTube on Legoland in Florida, and they're actually themed with these old sets still. Like there's a Johnny Thunder ride in Florida.
Oh man,
but
not in the California one.
I don't know if it's in the California.
We gotta
one.
go to Lego Island. Lego Island.
We
next time you come down to California, we're going to Lego Island.
We can go to Legoland in California, but I'm going to tell you, we're going to be weird because we're going to be 2 dudes there. We don't have kids, and it's entirely a kids theme park.
Okay, well, maybe we want that.
We're going to have to see if someone's nephew could come with us. Like, be like,
there you go.
We're cool uncles taking our kids to Legoland.
Yeah,
so
maybe in a couple years when my nephew's older and he's into Legos now, so we just need to get him old enough that he could have fun at a theme park, and then we can go.
I got my nephew his first Duplo set. It was Spider-Man, and he loved it, and I'm pretty stoked about it because I'm like, you got to start it early. You got to get him entranced into Lego early, you know.
That's
so
right.
Lego should be paying us money for this. Let's move on. Okay. So they opened it up. They put it in 3D, but here's the general gist of the game: is you can choose between 5 characters when you start. And the 5 characters are 2 police officers, Laura and Nick Brick, 2 pizzeria proprietors, Mama and Papa Briccolini, excuse me, and then their adopted son, Pepperoni. First name Pepper, last name Roni. Perfect level of cheese. Pun intended. Okay. I think most of us played as Pepperoni. Yep. Because he was the skateboarding dude. You know,
you could ride the skateboard.
You could ride the skateboard. He had threw pizzas at people. He was a skateboarder. Also, Pepperoni, important because he's the one that initiates the quote main story of the game. If you want to call it that. I'm going to be doing a lot of air quotes this episode.
I call it that. There's a story. I mean, it's a basic story, but
it's a one mission story. Yeah. If you want, you know what? If you're going for like achievement hunter, trying to like beat games, this is one to start with. If you're trying to beat a game in a day, so you explore the island in the first person perspective, and there are numerous activities and missions you can take part in. But the cool thing that got me always, and I mentioned on this briefly already, is if you see a vehicle in Lego Island and you click on it, you can drive it. Like that's intended for you to be able to drive around the island. So when you get on that bicycle, you take it down the hill, the police station has a police motorcycle. You click on that. Now you're on the police motorcycle. You drive around the island. Like you can drive most vehicles in the game that you click on, you can drive. And that's really cool. And that's like the open world aspect to this. Then you can go to different buildings and different Lego citizens to do the activities. And the main activities you can do, the 5 activities that are for score, are ambulance driving, jet ski racing, a car race because the whole island has a racetrack that goes around it, a pizza delivery mission, and then a tow truck mission. And they're all pretty straightforward. I will say, like, the lamer ones in my mind are ambulance driving and tow truck driving, because once you get to the spot, like, it just hits a cutscene that just does it for you, and then it's over, and that's it.
It's like, it's
Um,
just drive from the hospital to the spot,
yeah,
and you're like,
you
"Okay,
point A to
great."
point B, cutscene starts, and then you get a score at the end of it. And we'll talk about the score at the end. They're all pretty straightforward, though. The story mission, though, in the game, and the one that Tyler is referencing as being just a perfect story for a video game,
No
is
holes, no potholes.
no plot holes. If you play as you have to play as Pepperoni for this. Pepperoni. And if you build the police chopper and then you give the criminal in jail a pizza, you will start the main story quest, which is the criminal in jail, whose name is the Brickster, will escape because the pizza is so spicy he melts the lock.
He uses
Okay.
the fumes from the pizza to
He
melt
can
the
melt the
lock.
lock. And it even says, don't give him a pizza on a sign in the front.
It
But
does.
it's spelled wrong and it says pizzazz instead.
No pizzazz.
No pizzazz is what it says. And then once that happens, you have to catch the Brickster. And this is, I can't stress how, oh, it's so beautiful just saying this sentence in 2024. You slow the Brickster down with pizzas, and then you lead the cops to him with donuts. You throw donuts at the cops, and that's what leads them to the Brickster. And in 2024, there's so many things that like are commentary on that. I just find it so funny that you just use donuts.
And he's like running around the island, like deconstructing everything.
Yes,
Right?
because his goal is he wants to destroy all of Lego Island and make
Because
it
he wants to build
his.
his own island.
He wants to build his own island. Exactly. And that's the funny thing about this too. There are actually there's two endings to this game. There's multiple endings to this game.
Wow.
So this game ends either with you stopping the island's destruction and locking the Brickster back up, or in like a dark twist, the Brickster wins, and there's like this sad
It's
cinematic
really
where
sad.
he like takes over the island and it's over and the game just ends. Which is nuts because it's such a happy game, and then it gets to like this really serious ending.
And I remember that last game, the donut throwing and the pizza throwing, to be actually kind of hard. Maybe it was just hard for me as a 7-year-old, but I
Yeah.
remember it being kind of difficult. I remember seeing both of these endings.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's like it's you got to figure it out, you know. It's not, because I mean they want to make it a little bit hard so that way when you do it you like feel like you did it, you know,
Mhm.
especially as a kid, that feeling like I did a good
Yeah.
job. So okay. So on top of the Brickster being the main villain in the game, there are some other memorable characters I wanted to discuss, like the Infomaniac, who is essentially the tutorial and he owns the island. He's like the mayor of the Lego Island, kind of. And
He's the
he
king
just,
of the island. Everybody else just works for him.
yes,
Maybe
exactly.
he's the real Brickster.
He might be the real, he might be the one that like he might be the Brickster's like the puppet. The Brickster is the puppet of the Infomaniac. If are we going to get into it?
Lego
Is
Island
this
conspiracy theories?
the Lego Island Contra affair? Is that what's happening right now? But yeah, so it's definitely one of those things where he's the like main leader of everyone and he gets like kind of crazy. But the other person I wanted to mention, and like an honorable mention, is the mechanic on the island that helps you create vehicles, because his name is Bill Ding. First name Bill, last name Ding. Is this gold? This might
With
be
a
pure
name like
gold.
that, what other line of work can you get into?
This game is just so wholesome. I love this game so much. That's why I was like, how have we not talked about this yet? This game is like such a sweet, wonderful game, except for that really sad ending you get when the Brickster wins. Other than that, everything else is great. Also, I should mention too that we haven't really talked about the racing part of it. Like the racing games, I remember as a kid being like super awesome, right? Like you're like
Mhm.
racing, like especially the jet ski racing. You're like, this is
Yep.
so cool, and you're like dodging objects. It's kind of gonna, like, based on what I watched in like the Let's Play, it's kind of gonna burst our bubbles a little bit just playing in the year 2024. You know what I mean? Like it's not, and if you get the controller thing working properly, you know, like that's gonna help out a lot. I think to help you feel a little bit better about it, but it's a lot more simplistic than it was than we remember. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it's no Lego Racers, is what I'm saying.
Dang. Well, That's a tough act to follow.
Lego Island
To
walked
proceed.
so Lego racers could run, I
That's
think,
true.
is what we should all learn from this. There's also other great Lego games. I'm just excited to get into these again because I'm going to start playing all of them, and I'm so stoked for it.
There were a
So,
bunch that I really wanted as a kid, and now I should probably go back and play it
well,
too.
there was a game, and again, this is kind of a tangent, for Rock Raiders. Do you remember the Rock Raiders line?
Yeah, I was not super into it, but I do remember it.
I have the Rock Raiders the big rock set. I have it, and I'm just putting it together because again, putting these Lego sets together is hard because I'm just missing a lot of pieces. So I have to like go back and find the pieces and put it all together. But they're like they have a Lego Rock Raiders game, and I was going to try that out too. A lot of these games, especially the early ones, just so everyone's aware, is they're going to be a lot like this, where they're like mini game focused, activity center kind of games. Once we get into Lego Racers, that's when it's like a true game. And I'm just excited to talk about it. I'm sure you are too, because you played Lego Racers. I have it for 64. The PC version, apparently. I mean, let's just bump up those graphics, just make it way better, right? Just everyone
Yeah.
thinks about it. So
There's a PC version that probably requires some tweaking to get running these days too.
probably, yes. Because I believe that was late 90s, early 2000s also.
Yeah.
Because So, all right. So there is a score cube that tracks your scores throughout the game, and you can go visit the Infomaniac to see your scores. And the way it does it is first, second, third, and then no placement. And it's just done by color of bricks. So red is first, blue is second, yellow third. If you get a gray brick, you didn't place. You should feel embarrassed and do it again.
Dang.
Okay. I just love this game because it's so zany. Like it's just weird. It was just a perfect thing for a child. And we're going to talk about this in a moment when we get into development, but there's a reason that I feel like it hits so hard. And we'll get into that in a second. So for the development, as I mentioned before, there's a really good resource with the Bits and Bricks podcast series that Lego did. And in season 1, episode 4, they talked about Lego Island. And we have the full transcript of that from lego.com. And that's where I'm really getting all of my development news because this is coming straight from Lego. I feel like it's the best source we're going to get. There might be a book or some other interviews I missed, but we're just going to go through it here right now. So Mindscape is a California based company, and they wanted to like partner with a toy company to make a video game. And after like pitching and going through it, they decided internally to go with Lego. So they were decided they were going to pitch to the Lego group. So Wes Jenkins would be the person who's Lego Island's creative director, but him and Paul Melmed actually went to the toy fair in February 1995 in New York City and pitched to the Lego group. And they didn't say yes right away. It's important to know that because internally, Lego wanted to know what the impact was of companies like Nintendo on their business. And they actually hired someone named Tormod Askildsen. I'm sorry if I messed that up. But to explore the impact of video games and whether the Lego group should invest in this medium, like if this is something the Lego group needs to do. And in December of 1995, he came back shortly after the pitch and said, the single statement was this quote, "Getting into the game industry wasn't an option, it was a necessity," end quote, is what he said. And that's what prompted Lego a month later to announce its deal with Mindscape and for the developer to make a series of video games. And the first one was based on the Lego town theme, and that would later become Lego Island. Because Lego Island is the town theme entirely. There are some Easter eggs, like you'll see like pirate stuff in there and skeletons and ghosts from the
There's
other.
the spooky door what's behind that door? You know what I'm talking about in the
door.
cave?
Yeah,
I always thought there was something secret back there that you could get to. I don't think there actually is anything there.
Is it just a spooky door?
I think it's just a spooky door.
Well,
I never found out anything.
When we get the game going, I feel like we should explore Lego Island together. Like I should put it on Discord and
let's do it.
The other thing, I think I might know also what's crashing my Lego Island. The Nvidia thing keeps popping up. Like Nvidia is trying to like have its tools running during Lego
maybe
Island.
you gotta like disable that,
and that might be messing it up. Yeah, I need to look into that and see. Another clue just now. Okay, so they ended up getting into the game, and the development of the game ended up taking about almost 2 years, but that 2 years was well spent because they had interesting ways of like determining how they want to make this game. So the first thing they did, and this is from that transcript, They built a full-scale version of the Lego Island with real Lego bricks, and then had
Whoa.
kids come and play with the set to see how they played to determine what they would put in the game. Isn't that cool?
That's a great idea.
That's super cool. So, and I think that's kind of where they got like the vehicle focused nature of it, because kids would take the cars and they play with the cars on the roads and stuff. I just think that would be amazing. Also,
Wonder if they got
I
like story ideas too. Like, what do the kids
yeah,
like sort of make up?
yeah, it's so cool. I just think that's such a cool way of doing it. They also, the team also spent like some time talking about like the philosophy of play and like what it, especially on a digital format versus like like a physical toy versus playing on a like, computer. And they use this thing, and we don't need to get into it too much. It's called Dr. Howard Gardner's multiple intelligence theory. This is a psychology thing that they actually tried to put in the game and put specifically on NPC characters. So, like, the Infomaniac has certain traits from this intelligence theory, and the Brickster has certain traits from the intelligence theory, and like each character has different parts of this theory. Essentially, that it's like they've divided human intelligence into certain categories, and this is by no means all the categories, but just some of those to give like examples are, because I didn't, some of them are obvious and some of them are not. And so the categories like exist of like musical category or visual spatial, linguistic, logical, mathematical, body kinesthetic. So things like that. There's more than that, but that's just some of them. So they tried to make characters with those in mind. And I think they like elevated it, you know, like this is the musical guy that's like really like into it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it makes me think also like linguistics with like the Infomaniac when he says hello to you in like all those different languages up top. Like he's got like the linguistic thing going for him because he's the one that's talking to you about everything. So
Mm-hmm.
that
Does the
just
game
kind of,
come in multiple languages too? Because I think that was
yes, because
okay.
worldwide release, I believe so.
Gotcha. Okay,
So
because that was, as I recall, that's a like a pre-rendered cutscene. The
it
saying it in a
is,
bunch of
yeah.
different languages. So saying it like that way, they don't have to make another cutscene for every.
Yeah, watching that video. So Tyler recommended a video to me of a man who's decompiling Lego Island. It's Matt KC, right?
Mm-hmm. He's got a lot
And
of great. I love that guy's YouTube
no,
channel.
he's got great videos, great video gaming videos in general. Like just doing like I think he ported a bunch of apps to Windows 1995 too. Like
Yeah,
he did some crazy stuff.
he
But
ported like the .NET framework, and that makes like all of these like more modern apps like suddenly work on Windows 95. It's like,
it's
cool,
so
cool.
weird. Yeah, it's so cool. So but yeah, he kind of goes into it too. There's certain things they did in the game that didn't really like work. He kind of discovered like bugs and workarounds. For example, the big one was that when the game boots up, there's a 200-second delay, or not 200-second, 200. I think it's a 2-second delay, but it's like 2,000 milliseconds. Then like programmed into the game because it's waiting for another file to load. Now they could have done a queue to be like, hey, when this file loads, start the cinematic to open the game. But they were lazy, and instead they were like, no, just do this amount of time and it'll load by then, regardless of what's
If it hasn't loaded by then, it's probably broken anyway.
yeah, exactly. And so they chose the timing. And he actually talked to a person that helped at Mindscape on the game, and they're like, yeah, that probably was just out of like someone leaving that in there and not doing it the right way and just
Yeah,
left it in.
I can imagine there was like this bug popped up, and they were like, I think this is the problem. What if I just put a delay in there? Yeah, okay, that proves that that's the problem. Great, now I can work on the thing I was trying to work on, and then they just
Yeah.
never went back and fixed the actual
Yeah.
issue.
I think he mentioned that it was probably a crunch time thing. Like, we need to get this game out, and instead of just fixing it the right way, let's just do this because it fixes it and it's easy and quick, and no one's
Yeah.
going to notice until now when a guy's decompiling the game. Like, what?
Yeah.
Almost 30 years later. Like, so yeah, the other thing about it too is they wanted to build their own game engine for Lego Island, and they did, and that was actually intentional because they kind of thought there would be sequels. Like they thought they were onto something. So this is something they're going to do. So it is running on their own game engine. They also, this is something that I don't really know. I mean, this is from the Lego group. So this has got to be real. It's pretty messed up. So the game launched on September 26, 1997, as I said. According to Jenkins, the person who was the creative director, right? The day before launch, Mindscape fired everyone on the team, mostly so they didn't have to pay bonuses.
Oh.
Yeah, that's from the Lego podcast. Like that's so I'm taking this as a real thing. Not to bum everybody out, but this is an important development fact.
Yikes. Yeah.
Yeah. So um another little fact they had there too is that they really they worked with the Lego group to fix it so it's more brick based, because like there's no ropes in the game. There's nothing that's like not Lego bricky except for the terrain itself. That's like
Mhm.
not made of brick. I think now it would be kind of cool if they did it, because they could probably make it so there's like a bricky island, like with studs. And the other
Mhm.
thing about this too, we'll get this in the legacy part. There's a lot of fan made like Lego Island games like being made, of like people building Lego Island but redone in like Unreal Engine and doing crazy stuff with it. So it's like very much a thing that
I want to
like
check some of those out now.
yeah. There's well I'll link you one after this. So that's kind of the development. I know it's kind of sad to end on a bummer that they fired all the employees, but that is something that I couldn't not include because it's an important part of the history, and it's probably a practice that was common,
I
sadly,
mean, yeah,
in
I think it's still like not unheard of to get rid of people before
before
you.
they can get their bonus
Yeah, especially
sales.
if it's like there's like a contractor situation. Lots of times, like contractors get. Yeah, it's a problem.
It's messed up. So, real quick, let's talk about the legacy of Lego Island, though, now that we're onto that. And it's pretty simple legacy. If Lego Island was not a success, we would not see all these Lego games now. Like, Lego Island is the precursor to any Lego game that you've liked and enjoyed. You can thank Lego Island for that. That's
There's a
entirely
lot of
that.
good ones out there. I mean, you were just talking about Lego Fortnite. That's pretty fun. All of the Lego games from Lego Star Wars to I think the latest is
Indiana
also Lego Star
Jones.
Wars. Yeah, Indiana
Yeah.
Jones, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Batman. There's 3 Batman games and they're pretty good.
I mean, you also have that controversial opinion on the Lego Batman movie.
Yeah,
That
and
is
I'll say it again. Lego Batman, best Batman movie.
boom, there it is. Just to end on a big hot take. I love it. So there are some other Lego Island games. We're gonna get into those next time we do this. Hopefully by then I'll be able to play all the Lego games too, like all the original Lego Island as well as these other 3. I'll figure out how to get it working, and I'll
Yeah,
have
I think
Tyler
Lego
be
Island
my
2 has a PlayStation version too, so you may be able to
oh
like emulate
oh
that or something too.
that'd be cool too. Yeah. So, but yeah, I would also say that Lego Racers is something that I'm really excited to talk about too, because Lego Racers, you think it's just a kart racing game, right? Like every other kart racer, but they had a mechanic in Lego Racers that no other kart racing game had at the time. Where did you know this? Where if you click the white bricks, you can upgrade your item. Did you know
Yes.
this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you get there's like 4 different kinds of bricks. There's like green, red, blue, and yellow. And if you upgrade the green brick to the full level and you use it, it like warps you super far forward. So you can kind of like cheese Lego Racers in that way. That's like the cheat code that's built into the game. Is you like upgrade the green, you go forward. You upgrade the green, you
Yeah.
go forward, and you can just get so far ahead of everyone in the game, which you need to do because the game's super hard.
Yeah,
It's
when you're
really
trying to
hard.
beat the rad racer at the end,
Yeah,
you
you
need that.
you got to use the green warp holes to do it to make that work. So I'm excited to talk about Lego Racers. But Tyler, what you been playing?
Well, I finally finished Persona 3 Reload.
Ooh,
75 hours. It's done. It's over. I got the well, there's 2 endings. They're not really 2 endings. There's you get a choice at one point in the game where it's like, do you want to do one thing or the other? And then if you choose to not do the thing, then it's like, okay, well, game's over. Guess you lose. And then it's like, okay, cool. And then if you choose the other thing, it's like, okay, great, 10 more hours of game.
oh
so
wow,
so yeah, it took me 75 hours to finish it. I finished it. I love all of my friends in Persona 3. And it's great. I love that game.
did you get sad when it was over? Were you a little bummed?
I was a little bummed. Not as bummed as I was when Persona 5 was over, because I took years to beat Persona 5 because
I remember
I would
that.
leave and come back to it. Persona 3, I took a break in the middle to play through Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. And then I came back to it. So I didn't have as much like time with those characters. And I'd also played through most of it back in the PS2 days as well. So there was like some nostalgia there, like slight nostalgia, but yeah, it's great. Highly recommend it. It's on Game Pass. If you want a nice Persona game to get into, I think that's a good one to get into. Well, 5 is probably the best to be your first Persona game because it's so flashy and so fun. 3 is a lot like that too, but not quite to the same level.
Did they take 5 off of Game Pass?
I think so.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, it's on sale. It goes on sale on Steam for a decent price most of the time. Might be on sale right now, actually.
Ooh.
So yeah, that's kind of most of what I've been playing. I'm in a little bit of like a game hole because I'm like, what do I play next? I started playing a little bit of Diablo. That's not really grabbing me still. I want it to, but it's just not. So I don't know. I might take a little break from like single player like games and just sort of do other stuff for a little while I figure out what to play next. Or I'm kind of moving towards just doing Super Mario RPG and doing all those because I want to play
Ooh.
that. I want to play Paper Mario, and then of course Paper Mario remake comes out soon, and then playing through all of those Mario RPG games. I thought maybe I'd want to take a break from JRPGs, but I don't know. The only things that are really calling to me are more JRPGs. So
Hey, if it's calling to you, embrace it. Take it.
yeah. What about you? What have you been playing?
I feel bad. I was a Switch owner that never had Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and I finally bought it. And so I've been playing a little bit of Mario Kart this week.
Okay.
Just like I forgot how much fun it is to just casually do a race and then just be like, oh, that was fun for like 10 minutes,
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
can do a Grand Prix in like 10 minutes. It's nuts. So I bought that. Also, we have a friend who's trying to set up like a 12-person race, which is another reason I bought it. So I want to participate in that. I've
Big
been
old
playing
race.
that. Played a little bit of Helldivers this week. I haven't really played a lot of games. I was gone for that wedding for a while, and I didn't really play any games. I played some Stardew Valley on the. I played a lot of Stardew Valley on my Switch on the way home. On the flight, the flight home was like 4 hours long, and I booted up Stardew before we took off, and I closed it after we had landed. Like I played
Nice.
it the whole time, and just like listen to a podcast while playing Stardew was wonderful. The I still need to beat Tears of the Kingdom. I haven't beaten
Mm,
that yet.
me
And I
neither.
still need to work on Advanced Wars and beat that. I want to beat these other Switch games before I buy anymore because Thousand Year Door, the Paper Mario game, right? That's been calling to me because I never really played a Paper Mario game. I think I played a little bit on the emulator and that was it. And then Super Mario RPG Remake is something that I never played that game at all as a kid. So I feel like I need to jump on it.
It's a
The
great game. Really good JRPG.
Nice. Because the other game I've been thinking about, and I have heard from like all my RPG fan friends that love RPGs, and it's just fixed now and it's good, is Cyberpunk
Oh,
2077.
I gotta play that too.
So when that goes on sale, I'm probably going to pick that up because it seems to go on sale for half off quite often. And I'm probably going to pick that up and play that. And then I'll probably play the DLC either like later or afterward. Because I know it's a kind of a long game, but I heard you could have like a sword build in the game. You
Oh,
have like a katana sword. And I'm like, that sounds awesome. I didn't think that, but like for a cyberpunk game. So I'm gonna try that out and play it. And yeah, I've been
yeah.
feeling the single player RPGs. They had an update for Starfield recently, or they're going to have an update for Starfield that kind of fixes a lot of quality of life stuff. So I might go back to that, but
Eh,
yeah, I don't know.
I'm
I'd
not.
rather play newer games. I'm just gonna be playing some Lego Island in the next couple weeks. It sounds
True.
like so that'll be fun too. I'm excited to play
Yeah.
that.
I do have one podcast recommendation for folks because I've been
Ooh,
listening to the Gamecraft podcast.
yeah.
I finished the first season of it and I'm moved on to the second season. It's a really good. The first season is sort of a history of games, but not the way that like we talk about games. It's more about the history of the business of games. Like they don't really talk about specific games or like game mechanics. They're really talking about like the evolution of like how kind of money is made in games, which is really really interesting because it's from the main people who do it are investors in games. So it's like what are they looking for when somebody comes to them and says, "Hey, invest in my company or invest in my game?" And these are one of the guys is. It's Mitch Lasky, and he's been investing in games for like 30 years. He worked at Activision, and now he runs his own thing. I'm into the second season now, and it's like even more interesting if you're interested in the mechanics of like the business of games and how they can affect the games themselves. Because we've gone like the publishing model for in the 90s is different than like this like rise of free to play stuff now, and that kind of it's fascinating, and I'm having a great time with it. So if you enjoy that kind of stuff, you should listen to it.
I just started
Gamecraft,
the indie games episode.
yeah,
I'm well into the second season now. That's the podcast I listened to on the plane. So I like
nice,
knocked a bunch of episodes out on that. So that was good. Cool. Well, with that, that's the episode for the day. If you want to support us, you can go to Codex History codexpodcast.net. Sorry, I almost messed up our own website again. And codexpodcast.net. That's where you can see all of our links there. We have our Discord there, everything. Oh, a quick note, because I did get some emails about this on the Discord. In order to see everything on the Discord, you have to agree to the terms of service. I have it set up this way. So if you join Discord and you're like, I can't see anything, you have to go to the rules channel and click the green checkbox. When you click the green checkbox to agree to all the rules, then the entire Discord channel opens up to you. Or server opens up to you with all the channels. I've had multiple people like reach out to me over a couple like weeks about that. And so I just wanted to clarify that. If you're seeing the Discord, you're like, why is it not working? You have to go into the welcome and rules channel, click the green checkbox, and then you'll see everything else appear.
Yep.
And that's where everything
Basically,
is.
you agree to not be a jerk to people.
Exactly. I set that up so everyone reads the rules, and that way everything's cool. Because I mean, there's one thing I don't want to be, and I don't think Tyler wants to be either. I'm not trying to be the Discord police. Like, be responsible for yourself. You're a person, so be a good person. Okay. Also, you can email us at codexhistorypodcast@gmail.com. Everything's on the website, as I said. We'll be back next week. I don't know what we're going to talk about. We'll see. But with that, Tyler, are you ready to say farewell to everybody?
Farewell, everybody.